Okay, so today we're going to look at the late medieval period and the way that the Bible was connected with people's lives. The Bible would be very central to people's lives at this time. You've got your prints, and you can see that there are little gaps on the prints. So please, as you listen, try and fill in the gaps. But you don't have to worry, because I will put the complete text up on the website. So if you don't catch something, you can catch it later. Okay. Now, I want to try and pick up a picture, build up a picture here of kind of how ordinary people got some sort of contact with the Bible during the time before the Reformation. What there was available, how it spread around, and those kinds of things. And let's just take a look at how attitudes towards translating the Bible changed. Peckham was, remember, telling us the minimum. All right? Everybody at least should know those details that we just looked at on the Peckham print. And everybody at this stage would be Catholic. In the whole of, well, certainly Western Europe at least, there was the Greek Orthodox Church in the East, but in Western Europe and for most of Europe, the Catholic Church was the only branch of Christianity that existed. Everybody was a Catholic because that was the only church. And basically, of course, the Catholic Church had developed itself based on the Bible, but over the years, various other kinds of traditions had grown up that weren't exactly in the Bible. So there were traditions inside the church, and there were traditions of the society that were kind of connected with Christianity, but they weren't actually in the Bible. And of course, the Bible was only available in Latin, so ordinary people couldn't really check very easily to find out whether the Bible really said something or didn't. So translation of the Bible was quite a big issue. Now, as we saw in the late 13th century, it started to be a problem that not enough people really seemed to understand what was actually in the Bible. And so Peckham got going with his syllabus. And this was supposed to give people a minimum. At least they should know this, the things that we looked at just a few minutes ago. So these were, as we saw, the Lord's Prayer, the Creed, the Ten Commandments, the 2 precepts of the Gospel, the 7 vices, the 7 virtues, 7 works of mercy, 7 sacraments, all these sorts of things. They liked the number 7. They were supposed to be lucky. Well, in the later part of the 14th century, things went in a different direction. So about 100 years later, okay, towards the end of the 14th century, things started to move in a different direction. You've got this man called John Wycliffe. And he actually set about to translate the whole of the Bible. Okay? He set out to translate the whole of the Bible into English. Because, Peckham had sort of started by saying people should at least know this, and Wycliffe said, well, why shouldn't they know more? Why keep it a secret? Why not just let everybody have it, and then everybody will know the truth about the religion, and it'll make it clear what the Bible is really teaching. Well, you wouldn't think that would be such a problem, but it was a problem. Okay? The reason it was a problem is because at around that time there was a rebellion. Okay? So Wycliffe set out to translate the Bible, but at the same time there was a rebellion by the common people, and the two things became connected. Translating the Bible seemed to be a dangerous thing. It was giving people dangerous ideas. Well, that's the way that the government, the authorities at the time started to think about it. So The rebellion in itself was not actually successful, but the authorities were kind of worried about the situation. There were Christian traditions that were not in the Bible that were being used as a kind of social control. And even some of what was in the Bible, even some of that was a kind of social control. The way of using the Bible had developed into a way of controlling the society so that it kept them obedient. If the Bible got translated and everybody could read what it really said, people might say, why do we have to do this? It's not in the Bible. Okay? So it could lead to another rebellion. It could lead to the government not being able to control the people. So there was a kind of fear among the controlling elite that there might be some sort of problem connected with translating the Bible. And so, 15th century, in 1407, along came a man called Arundel, again the Archbishop of Canterbury at that time, Thomas Arundel, and he passed a set of rules called the Constitutions. And Arundel's Constitutions were like, instead of saying that Peckham had told the minimum, that people, at least they should know this much from the Bible, Arundel said, well, that's the maximum. They can know these things, the Creed, the Lord's Prayer, okay, but not more than that. That's the maximum they should know. If they start to learn more, it could be dangerous, it could be a problem. All right? So instead of it being the minimum, suddenly the situation changed and the basic list that Peckham had given in his syllabus became the maximum that people were allowed to have access to in English. So basically, Wycliffe's Bible became a prohibited, forbidden thing. It was not allowed to spread among the people. Well, there's quite a lot of controversy about the effect of those constitutions, and I'm going to talk about that perhaps a little bit later on. But for now, I just want to look at the context, the background to what was going on at that time. So we can see a little bit about the society and how things were at the time that those constitutions were coming into action. And so we're going to start the Oxford translation debate and Arundel's constitutions, which are at the beginning of the 15th century. And basically, these two things were trying to stop the spread of criticism of the church. The translation debate, of course, there were people on both sides, some who wanted it to be translated, some who didn't want it to be translated, and then Arundel's constitutions, which basically said, no, we're not going to translate the Bible. So that was the center of the debate, trying to stop the translations of the Bible so that they couldn't get circulated and there wouldn't be any danger from having the Bible translated into a language that the ordinary people could understand. And this was connected with the peasants' revolt, the rebellion that took place at that time, at the end of the end of the 14th century. So what had happened here was that in the middle of that century there had been a plague. Okay, in Japanese you call that a pesuto. Okay, I think I'm not sure where that gairaigo comes from. Maybe from French it's la peste. maybe it's from Portuguese or possibly from Spanish. So anyway, in English it's called the plague, and the particular plague was called the Black Death. It was very, very nasty. About half of the population of Europe was wiped out. 50% of Europe dead. This changed things. This changed the society. Okay? It meant, one thing that it meant was that peasants, that's the kind of lower class people, had more freedom than before because the high class, the elite, needed labour. Because so many people were dead, there was nobody left to plough the land, to dig the fields, to do the work. Because so many people had died. So peasants found, oh, I'm in quite a powerful position. This guy wants to pay me, 1 penny an hour. This guy's saying he'll pay me 2 pennies. I'll go and work for him. Oh, did you say 3 pennies? I'll go and work for you then. Okay, so they got more choice than before. They got a chance to have better conditions, to get better money than before. All right, because the number of dead people meant that there was a high demand for labour. Well, of course, as a generation and 2 generations go past, the need for labour stabilises again. And the peasants find that the conditions are getting worse for them. Because people say, I can't pay you 3 pence anymore. No, I don't want you here anymore. Go away. Oh, well, maybe somebody will pay me 2 pence? No? Okay. I suppose I'll work for a penny. All right? And they'd be back where they started. All right? And of course, they wouldn't like that very much. So that was one of the underlying reasons for the rebellion. So the new generation grew up, and the shortage of labour eased because there were more people again on the work market. And so the peasants had to go back to their lower class status with poor conditions, the way that they had before the plague. And so by 1381, there was a strong spirit of unrest. People were angry, and a group of peasants, led by a man called Wat Tyler, started a that's not really a medieval picture, that's a later picture, but it gives you some sense of the kind of violence and anarchy. They really were, it was quite a serious thing. They could have succeeded, possibly. Certainly, it was enough to worry the controlling elite. And the Wycliffe Bible and the Lollards, who were the people who... Lollardy was the group, the Lollards were the people who followed Wycliffe, who wanted the Bible to be translated. So these things, the Wycliffe Bible and the Lollard movement that was asking for translation of the Bible, that came to be connected very strongly with that spirit of unrest and rebellion. So that Arundel's constitutions were basically not just trying to control the Bible, but saying, if we translate the Bible, this social problem will happen again. More people will rebel and fight against the government. So, as I said, it was pretty serious. The Archbishop of Canterbury, who was the head of the church, had been killed. All right? The Lord Treasurer, who controlled the economy of the country, he had been killed. I'd imagine something like this happening in a country today. It would be very destabilizing. It would be a very serious situation. Top members of the country being killed by rebels. The king himself went into hiding because he feared that he would be killed. And there was looting, that is, attacking cities and stealing whatever they could from the shops, taking whatever they wanted, and massacring anybody that they thought disagreed with them. So it became a very wild rebellious sort of situation. And it failed, as I say. But Arundel saw a danger in the spread of the Wycliffite Bible and a danger in other religious works being spread in the vernacular. The vernacular being, for English people, English. The vernacular just means the common language, the language that everybody speaks and understands. So for English people, that's English. For French people, it's French. The vernacular. And so he saw a danger, and therefore he prohibited it. He wasn't really trying to stop or suppress vernacular theology. What he really wanted was to stop the Bible, the Scripture, the holy writings for being the basis for any more social unrest. He didn't want people rising up and saying, we are not just fighting against the government, we are fighting with God against the government. God is on our side. We've read the Bible. We know the truth. He didn't want that to happen. So that's why he was so strict about it. Here are a couple of pictures showing the situation. You've got Arundel preaching, the Archbishop of Canterbury preaching to the assembled people coming to the church. You've got Wat Tyler being put to death. He was captured. He was the leader of the rebels, and he was captured, and he was put to death. So you can see that in the picture on the right. And as I say, it's not just about religion, it's about controlling the rebellious proletariat, the common people. It's about controlling them. You can see that clearly in the Oxford debate, which took place a few years before Arundel made his constitutions. In that debate, you get the opponents of the vernacular, those who don't want the Bible translated into English, saying that knowledge is handed downwards. Knowledge comes from God to the angels, it comes from angels to the priests, and the priests then spread it out to the laity, to the ordinary people. Just giving it straight to the ordinary people would be, again, there's an image from the Bible, pearls before swine. Pearls, yeah, like you get inside an oyster, okay, very precious, before swine, pigs. Pigs have no use for pearls. Why give them pearls? Why give them treasures? They don't understand it, they have no use for it. Okay, so the image that was used, taken from the Bible, was the image of pearls before swine. Okay, giving people a treasure that they can't respect, that they don't know how to use, they won't appreciate it. Okay, that's the recurrent metaphor. The constant warning is that if you let the social order be subverted, then the results are a catastrophe. The results are going to be terrible. Apocalypse is the end of the world. So if you don't want the end of the world to happen, don't translate the Bible. Because once people get that kind of knowledge, the whole natural order has been broken down. The natural order is from God to the angels to the priests, and from the priests to the ordinary people. Don't break that up. Don't try to change it. Okay? Keep that pyramid structure. Okay? So this hierarchy, this pyramid structure was part of trying the reasoning for not translating the Bible into English. Let's just summarize the ideas we've looked at so far then. Wycliffe and the Lollards wanted the Bible in English, and they wanted everybody to be able to read it. Okay? But others feared that it'll lead to social unrest, like the Peasants' Revolt. And so, as a result, the Archbishop of Canterbury introduced a set of rules, and the central part of those rules was to forbid translations of the Bible. Okay? So that's a little lesson on that topic.